start. It's always a messy start. Help people wake up.
That's it. Tis a Friday morning.
Oh, I forget that it's Friday. I wasn't quite well throughout the week, and so I had my 2 days of part-time work off, and now it feels like it should be Monday.
So your whole week has just been thrown out now?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I spent like 3 days on the lounge binging Netflix, and Mum's been trying to she's been obsessed with Terry Pratchett lately. So she read
Yeah.
Lords and Ladies, which is number 14 in the series, and then she went and got more, and she's like, this is on your to-be-read pile.
So she's just been devouring them and then passing it on to you. No
Absolutely.
ulterior motive. Yeah.
No, none whatsoever, besides the fact
Yeah.
that she wants to create a stockpile for her future grandchildren.
That's it. And probably talk to somebody about the books.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the second one. That's the second point.
Yeah. Totally.
Alrighty. I'm just waiting for this one to pop up. It'll tell us when there's anyone watching.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
I thought it logged us as 2 people watching, but apparently
it doesn't.
It will come up with a little eyeball saying that's how many people are watching. Oh, that makes me feel really good about last night's stream.
I was going to say I've got one eyeball up now.
Ooh,
from the looks of it.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Hello, eyeball.
Yeah.
I don't know who you are, so please leave a comment, person watching, so that we know who you are, and maybe you can get prizes or go into the draw for something. I don't know, but you'll get all the information if you leave a comment. Am I not? I should be streaming this through the Writers Festival. Am I not on the right page for this? It's fine. It's all good. Not a problem. Oh, I'm streaming it through mine. Okay, all right. That's what the issue is. I was like, oh, is it going to give me the opportunity to stream it through 2 different channels? Because that's what it gave me the impression it was doing. And now it's just like, no, it's not. All right, so I will send you through this link, Tara, and
okay, via email or in this space.
You know what? I'll share it to the Logan Writers Festival page. Do you have 2 devices open?
I've only got my one laptop open. Yeah.
Okay, I'll send it to you. Which way is easier for you? I can send it to you.
You can send it through Facebook.
Well.
Yeah.
Okay. I loved your last video, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I was hoping that it would be useful for people. I was a bit worried, with stuff like that, if it's a bit too idiosyncratic, and are people going to be interested in that sort of reflective stuff? So I'm glad that it was useful, that you liked it.
That's the thing about your content, though.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're friends on Facebook. No, I don't think I can send it to you until we're friends on Facebook.
Oh, no, probably not actually. So, and that's the thing too, whether do it to my public, like my author page.
Well, if I send it to you through your private account, then you can blast it everywhere. But I can't get it to you unless you stalk the Logan Writers. Logan writing. Oh my gosh, my brain. I haven't had coffee, and I get up like I'm one of those people that gets up at the very last minute before they need to, and I can jump straight into things normally, but my tongue takes a while to catch up. If you stalk the Logan Writing Festival page, it will pop up there, and you'll still be able to share it directly from there.
Okay, but you're going to send the link to my private messenger right now.
I can't until we're friends. So we have to become friends. It's official.
So I'm under Tara Louise East.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Okay, great. Just got it. Cool.
All right, it is sent.
Easy.
Beautiful.
Cool. Just got it.
There's always a little bit of setup time.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so I'll close down this. Wait, am I closing down this channel now because we've opened it up somewhere else? Is that right?
No. So
Okay.
I've sent you the link so that you can share that to your page and people can watch live.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Right. Perfect.
Alrighty. I'm just going to make sure that it's coming up on all the things. There's always setup. People don't realize how much setup there is for
how
this
much
sort of
setup.
stuff.
That's
And
actually the thing with.
No, carry on.
Sorry,
You
go
go.
on. I was just going to say that's the thing with even the blog content and filming the videos and all the social media stuff. People don't realize like all the back end prep you have to do to create that content.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Copy link address. Alrighty. Beautiful. Okay, so I've done this backwards. Normally I would send it from the page to my profile, but today we've got it from my profile to the page.
Yep.
Either way, it'll be fine. The two are very intertwined. Thank you, Emma, and thank you, Becky, for being here. I can see your loves and likes. Okay, now we can get started. Hello, Tara. It's been a while since we've had a chat. How are you going?
I'm going really well for a Friday morning, even though it's pretty cold, but yeah, I'm going well. How about yourself? How are you this morning?
I swear it's like 3 degrees here and it's Queensland. It's not fair. It's not fair. I came up here for winters to be 15 degrees, not 3.
Yeah, that's it. We're like entirely unprepared for this.
Oh, absolutely. The moment that it gets too cold, you're just like, no. But the moment it gets warm, you're just like, well, the aircon will take care of it.
Yeah, that's it.
So you are going to be one of the speakers at the Logan Writers Festival. I'm really glad you could come because you're actually much further away from Logan than I think anyone else coming.
Yeah, that's it. It's going to be a little bit of a drive down the range coming, but I'm looking forward to being in, like, getting to introduce myself and getting to interact with people in a different writing space in a community that I'm not a part of, but that I'm near. So I'm like in the area. I'm looking forward to, yeah, seeing and meeting different writers from a different space and making those connections.
I was really happy that you said that you would be a speaker. You were one of the few people I actually asked to be a speaker because you have gone to uni. I put out the post and said, anyone who wants to be a speaker, if you are in Logan, I don't yet know about you, please come along. But I knew about you and Shayla and Ali, about Lisa as well. And I hoard all the writers. So when you agreed that you would come along, I was like, yes, someone who has a university education in writing is going to be there and tell people what it's like to go to uni in creative writing courses.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's the great thing about Rise Festivals is obviously you're getting people from all different backgrounds and dynamics. But I was very surprised and honored for you to reach out and to ask me to come along. And of course, like really happy to represent the academic setting of creative writing. And I think this is the thing with going to uni to learn creative writing. Of course, the only real apprenticeship in being a writer is reading and writing. However, when you go to uni, you're doing a couple of things. One, you're showing yourself that you are taking this seriously And for many people, it's a way to create time and space in your life to actually write. You're prioritizing your writing for this time. And I think the other thing, this is the reason why business courses exist. This is the reason why all online courses exist, because even though we have access to so much free information out there in the world, there's a lot of information, and that takes time and dedication to sift through and to determine what is important, what's current, and what do I need to know where I'm at right now in life and my skill levels. And I think that's the thing about going and doing a university course, is that all that information is curated. You are being provided with the information you need to know at the level that you're at and where your skill levels are at. So you're going on this, it is a long-term journey as well, because you're doing like a 3-year course. So you're developing your skills over that time with a teaching team who get to know you and your work. And in that way, you're being really supported and you're getting a lot of hand-holding. Whereas if you're just figuring it out on the fly on your own, you're having to, you just don't get that additional support unless you try to cultivate that in your community. And then you don't know the quality of that community, which can be problematic. Whereas when you go to a university, you are dealing with people of a certain level. And in most cases, in creative writing courses, your teachers will also be working writers. So you are learning from people who are in the trenches, who know what they're talking about, and they're doing the work that you want to do. So I think that's the value of an academic setting.
Do you find that a lot of the teachers that go through the academic setting, more, like when they are writers, do you find that they're more traditionally published and lean towards a traditionally published pathway?
I would have said so, yes, even just a few years ago when I was doing my master's, but I've actually met several professors and lecturers now who really promote and who themselves are indie published, and they're researching this area. So I feel like there is a shift happening, and it's really interesting to see how self-publishing and independent publishing, there is still somewhat of a stigma to it, but I feel like it is really changing, and it's amazing to see that happen in an academic space as well, with people researching this model and then also doing it themselves and having that sort of first-hand experience of how does this work, why does it work, and where is it going, which I think is really interesting, especially as we see the big publishers, the big 5 now becoming the big 4, and we're seeing that traditional industry change. It's a very interesting time, I think, in publishing.
Now, I always hear the term the big 4. I haven't heard the term the big 5, because I think there have been the big 4 since I've been published, or at least they've been amalgamating into the big 4. Who are the big 4?
Well,
it's kind of like the boogeyman. It's like, the Illuminati.
The Illuminati. Who is this 1%?
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's kind of what it sounds like to a lot of people, because they hear, yes, big 4, and I'm like, I'm published with one of the big 4. It's like, who are one of the big 4?
Well, we used to have Penguin and Random House, but obviously they've combined together. Then we have HarperCollins, Simon and Schuster, and well, actually, no, that is the big. They say that's the big 4 because or Hachette. Sorry, I forgot to mention Hachette. So we've got HarperCollins, Simon and Schuster, Hachette, and then Penguin Random House. Sorry, what was that?
I always said Hatchet.
Yeah, Hachette. Yeah. So
it's so interesting when you look at the publishers that you have on your bookshelf. I often go through and you see the little logos at the bottom, and it doesn't really mean much to a reader unless they know that that publishing house specifically produces the genre that they like.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think Llewellyn is one that I will typically go, yes, I like them. I know what books they put out. I like them. But when it comes to someone like Penguin or For the Big 4, they're so varied that it's hard to determine if you'll like the book or not before you pick it up, purely based on the publisher. And I feel like a lot of people are going for a hybrid model these days. A lot of people will do self-publishing until a traditional publisher picks them up. And in my mind, it's like, they're doing the hard work, they're doing the foundational work, They're doing like the garage band stuff, going to pub gigs in the equivalent of the music world. And then an agent comes along and they're like, I really like what you do. I want you to not have to work so hard on that and make more stuff.
Well, I think that's I was actually speaking about this in class the other day with my students. The golden egg would probably be the hybrid model, where you are both traditionally published and hybrid published. Now, there's obviously a couple of different ways you can go about it. Some people start indie and then move in traditional when they get a deal, or they also maintain both, or they're traditional and maybe they're a mid-list author, but in order to generate more income, they start doing independent publishing on the side. But what I wanted to say about the model you were just speaking about then, going from independent publishing to traditional, part of the reason why you would be so appealing to a traditional publisher is because as an indie author, you have to build a platform. Otherwise, how else are you going to sell books? Like, of course, we are shifting in this into a pay-to-play model where we need to do paid advertising through Facebook and Amazon in order to be discovered, because organic discoverability is now shifting because of the logistics and the algorithms that have changed on Facebook and Amazon. But the bonus of starting indie is that you already have done so much bootstrapping, particularly if you have done well enough that a traditional publisher is paying attention to you, then obviously you've been doing some things right. You know how to build an author platform, you know how to interact with your readers, and most importantly, you must know how to write good books. And if you're selling at that level, then it also indicates that you must be somewhat business savvy. So you know how to do marketing, you know how the publishing industry works, at least in the indie sense. And those are all huge benefits to a traditional publisher. You know, they don't have to do all of this additional training with you, and they know. I think this is the illusion where most people think that if you get a traditional deal, you then don't have to do any marketing. But the thing is, a traditional publisher is still, no, it's like, that's such an illusion. Like, traditional publishers are still going to want you to have a social platform, an author platform, and to be doing your own marketing, not just leaving it all up to them. It's a dual effort now. Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I'm trying to accomplish. That's why I joined the Chamber of Commerce as an author, and as a creative author, not just a nonfiction one. So I joined them so that we could get that gap bridged between business and author, because it's no longer Great Gatsby days. It's no longer the days where, like, not even like 1920s. I think this was persistent right up until maybe the 60s or the 70s. Maybe even into the 80s, but it definitely started to diminish a lot in the 90s, where an author could rely on their publisher entirely for their income. We didn't have things like social media, and the pool of books being published was very curated and a lot more shallow than what it is today. Nowadays, you have to make sure that you collect your 1,000 raving fans and your 10,000 loving fans to maintain your audience and maintain a livable income just as an indie author. You have to 10 times that if you're going with a traditional publisher, because of the percentage that they require to be a profitable business. So when you I'm one of those weird authors that likes math. But when you break down the math, it's very simple as to what is profitable and what is sustainable.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. What is profitable and what is sustainable? A comment I do want to make, though, about having an author platform is when you say that, the first thing people think is social media. And of course, this is a fantastic option, but it's not the only option. And I think, you know, there's work out there by, say, Cal Newport, and I think we need to be also a little bit careful of our use of social media, or thinking that that's the only way to build a platform, because of course the most important thing that you can own is your email list. And the way that I
was just thinking that when I must have misspoken to say the first thing is social media that people think of, but it's not the most important thing, because social media is the most dangerous. Social media can be taken away from you at any opportunity. They can change their algorithm. They can change their pay structure. or they can be sued by the US government and forced to shut down.
Yeah,
or
absolutely. And you
between.
have no control over that stuff.
No, but you have
And I
control
think the
over
thing
your
is,
email.
yes, exactly. You have control over your email and the content you create in spaces off social media. So what I mean by that is podcasts, YouTube videos. Okay, YouTube is a channel and they can change that stuff, but you can embed those YouTube channels, those YouTube videos on your website. You have full ownership of your website if you've bought the domain. And then having an active blog or a podcast, things like that, other content that you actually own and can embed on your website. And then using all of that content as a way to build your know, like, and trust factor so that then people join your email newsletter. You're creating stuff that is so good, they want to support you. And I think this is the thing too, the people who join your email list, they want to hear from you. That's where they joined the list. Whereas sometimes we might follow someone on social media, but then we all know how the algorithms work. If you don't look at someone's page often enough, then they just disappear off your feed. So you might have 40,000 people on your Instagram, but that might only convert to 200 book sales. So this is the thing we need to remember about those follower numbers on those social media channels do not always convert to sales, and they can be really misleading.
Metrics.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are purely for vanity.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely don't actually demonstrate the reach that you have. I had two other points. I do this thing where I cross my fingers when I have a point so I don't interrupt too quickly, because it's just like the ideas come out, especially when I'm speaking to someone. I'm like, oh, yes, I've got this idea. So with YouTube, there are multiple video platforms that you can upload your videos to that accomplish the same result. Vimeo, Rumble, a whole bunch of them. So if you find them, Hideout is another one. If you find them and put your content on them just as a safeguard in case one of them goes down, you don't have to rely on them or anything like that, but they'll just send you their, casual notification saying if someone's commented. It's really valuable to spread your video content between video platforms, and ignore YouTube when they're like, no, we want YouTube original content that's not anywhere else. It's like, bugger off. This is to protect against you. And then the other thing is, when you've got your website, you can also attach programs like Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, Ko-fi, where people can regularly support you, instead of it having to come from book sales alone and from social media interactions alone.
Yeah, those are fantastic points, actually. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I wanted to say something and all that. Oh, sorry. Now I remember what I wanted to say. When, in terms of creating content, it's also valuable to think about how you can make one piece of content into multiple formats. So for me, I have a blog and then I make videos based on that blog. I have for a long time intended to also rip the audio and make it a podcast, but I just haven't gotten there yet. But it's looking at those different options of how can you repurpose one piece of content and provide it in multiple formats, because everybody likes to consume their media in different formats and through different devices. So I think that's just like a smart way to make one lot of work. Oh, that's not very good. To make one lot of work do multiple things. It's the same reason why we will publish a paperback book, but also an ebook, so that it's available in multiple formats. And if you've got the funds, also an audiobook. But I think that, and actually this is another point. Not only are you creating content across multiple formats for your particular platform, you can also tweak that work and then have it published in traditional ways. So I've frequently taken one of my own blogs and then had it published in writing magazines. And it's you've already done the bulk of the work, and then you're just doing a light edit or a light tweak for that particular publisher, following the editor's advice. And then you've made one piece of writing stretch across 4 different formats. So it's just being clever with the way you're using your time.
And like some people, some authors that I know are really adverse to any kind of marketing. They feel very dirty the moment they do anything that puts themselves out there. But one of the ways that you can think about it is that not everyone Some people are visually impaired. They don't want to watch a
Yeah.
video. Some people have processing issues, and they don't want to see something visual. Maybe they don't want to see something auditory. Maybe they don't want to read. So by providing these multiple outlets of your work, you're enabling multiple people, or many people with many abilities, to be able to consume it and benefit from it.
And I think that's the thing too. If you think marketing is sleazy or yucky or it's manipulative, then don't be sleazy, yucky, or manipulative in your marketing. Like, you get to choose how you market and in what way you present yourself. And basically what marketing is you're just letting people know what products you have and how they can either help somebody or, and actually this is the thing with art, maybe, you know, we have this guilt sometimes as artists, as that our stories aren't helping the world. You know, our stories aren't solving the pandemic. Therefore, it's useless that I'm writing. But the thing is, think about all the books that you've read in your life. Like, imagine your life without books. Imagine your life without stories, without art in any form. It's pretty miserable. Like, we all want art. Art is a way to record this moment in time, but it's also how we experience different perspectives and develop empathy. And of course, yes, have fun. They're also entertaining. But art is not useless. It's the one form that is enduring. So I think I think sort of relieving that artist guilt that can follow resistance towards marketing, or perceiving marketing as this false action, and that you should just be able to put your work out there and people discover it naturally. It's just a bit of a fairy tale dream. Like, you have to still have confidence in yourself as a writer and to go out there and talk about your stuff. I actually even just did a Instagram story about this yesterday. I went to a coffee shop, and even I sometimes get a bit shy about saying I'm a writer, and my barista asked me, "What are you up to today?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm editing my new book." And then their whole face just like lit up. They were so delighted. And then they said, "Oh, I can't wait to read it." And I explained that I already had a book out, and then they gave me $25 and bought a book off me right there. So it's just beautiful. Like, you know, and that was totally organic. It wasn't me pushing myself on anybody. And it was just, I think that's the thing. You get to decide how you conduct yourself when you're marketing. You get to decide what that looks like. And
marketing is really just a conversation with people, and sales is the part where you say, well, you can get it from me today if you like.
Yeah, big time. It's just letting people know that it's there.
That's incredible. So what books do you have out? What are their titles, and how many have you got out?
Okay, so my mystery novel came out about 18 months ago, and it's called Every Time He Dies. And it's gorgeous, isn't it? Her name is Jessica Bell Designs. And if anyone's interested, she actually did a really great interview on the Creative Pen just a couple of months ago, I think it was. But she did a beautiful design, and it works so well with the story itself. And I think this is the thing, when I was getting the book cover design done, some of the designs would have been totally misleading for the actual content of the book. Whereas I feel like with Jessica, she really grabbed like the spirit of the book. Like, you look at this and I feel like it's really representative of the story itself. So basically it's about a woman named Daphne. And she is a dry leading lady, and she's very scientific. And then somewhere along the line, she suddenly starts seeing ghosts. Well, one ghost in particular, and she has to help him discover his identity. And the whole story connects with her estranged father, who's also a homicide detective in Brisbane. So it's got psychics, bikers, a dry leading lady, and a ghost suffering from amnesia. So that's the basic, the wrap on that one.
I love it.
Yes. And I've also got a science fiction novella called When Belle Met Bowie. And it's a very short book. It's only probably about 20,000 words. But it's about a girl who thinks David Bowie is her father. And then she travels back in time to meet him in Sydney in the 80s when he's doing one of his live performances there. So that one's a bit fun as well.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Oh my gosh. I really want to know the ending. I'm going to have to read it.
That's it. And right now I'm writing a climate change novel that spans 30 years, and it follows 3 women and their manufactured animal companions that have been designed to be their like animal totem. And we're watching these relationships change over the course of 30 years and the decline of natural animals in the world, as well as the impact of climate change across those 30 years. So that's what I'm working on right now, and I'm getting really close to the end. So I'm pretty excited about that.
So powerful.
Yeah.
Excellent. When do you think your release date will be for that one?
I'm not sure yet. I'm probably going to try and traditionally publish that one because it's more literary. And this is the thing too that people need to consider. I published Every Time He Dies because it's a mystery novel, and that works really well for indie publishing. Any sort of genre.
Yeah, the top genre in Australia is crime and suspense.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is true crime.
Yeah, which is really interesting because often it's romance is the #1 bestseller, but I think it's really interesting that in Australia it's crime. So
convicts.
Oh yes, that's it. It's our very, very dodgy history. Sorry, I might just shuffle so I don't got that really.
Oh wow, the lighting just completely changed.
Yeah, that's it. I think I was getting a bit awful there, but I think that's the thing too. You need to consider your genre. Whereas literary fiction doesn't do so well indie publishing. So that's why I'm going to go traditional for the next one. But I'm really, and I think too, being someone who teaches writing and speaks about writing online so much, it would be interesting to also have that firsthand experience myself so that then I can speak about that with full integrity as well. So, and like I mentioned before, the sort of ideal model would be both, where you're traditionally published and hybrid published. So that's what I'm working towards. Yeah.
And it's really clever. Like, even though you're not, because a lot of people get recommended to stay in the same genre and just glue themselves to that genre because the marketing is easier. They don't have to restructure their whole platform and that sort of stuff. But if you glue yourself to an aspect of what you're writing, so something that people can familiarize themselves with, then I find that that is more successful and adds that variety that can draw more people into it. And the marketing doesn't always have to be that much different. Like, the different edges of it don't mean that the whole core has to change. Whereas you've got several very different books out. And so what kind of underpinning aspect are you sticking yourself with for that?
Well, I think I will answer that more directly, but I think too, in the age of new technologies and things, particularly with social media, is that you are the product, like you are your brand, and then you're just creating different types of products for different audiences, but the thing that connects them is you specific. And I think this works because I also have that nonfiction space where I talk about writing. If I didn't have that, and if I was only focusing on purely just being a fiction writer and doing things like just sending out short stories, or maybe being a little bit more like holding myself back and putting the fiction forward only, then that would probably be a little bit more difficult writing across different genres. But I think because I'm very forward facing in speaking in that nonfiction space, it is a lot easier to then have multiple fiction works in different genres. And I actually remember speaking with an indie author not that long ago who wrote in a very specific niche genre of romance. And while she had wild success in that, I was blown away with how successful she was in that space. Creatively, she was very stifled because she knew, and she experimented with deviating from this genre, and there were no sales because she had concentrated so intently on building an audience in this space. And now she is committed, at least for now, to only working in that space in order to keep the income coming in. And she said that she wished she had deviated more in the beginning so that she trained her audience to expect her to write in multiple different genres. So there is something to consider there. But I think all writers are essentially exploring the same sort of ideas in their fiction, despite the fact that genres change. So I think some of the big topics that I'm really interested in are relationships, particularly family relationships, but also female friendships. That's a really big thing for me. But I also am obsessed with time. For a long time, grief was a really big thing for me, but I think I've sort of shifted out of that to a degree. But that obsession with time and relationships, that has still very much changed. But I know that with each novel that I write, the topic or the themes within that novel will probably vary, but those undercurrent patterns will probably remain. I guess we'll find out. Yeah.
It's neat. It's very poetic. Like, you know, when you probably know this better than a lot of other people, but you know, when your English teacher said to you, okay, you've got to read these 30 poems from this one poet and then tell me like about what journey they've been on throughout their life because of these poems. We had this amazing, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but we had this amazing female poet, who you could very distinctly see her maiden, mother, and crone type stages in her writing. Wow. And like she had a good 50 poems for each stage, so she was prolific. Some of them were epic, some of them were very short, but some, like, you saw this very distinct pattern throughout them. And if you were, like, this is very old-timey, but if you're a fan of hers and following her poetry all through that period, you would have seen that change in her stuff, but you would have been able to cope with those waves. Whereas if you came in at one point and then read something else immediately after, you would have been quite jarred by it.
That's interesting.
The differences long-term were subtle, but the differences in the marked points were extreme, and that was incredible. It was so beautiful.
That's so fantastic. And like you say, the changes are subtle across time, but then if you look at either end, it's wildly different. And I think that's one of the best things about writing, unlike wanting to say be a ballerina or an astronaut. You are only going to get better with time. There's no time capsule on it. So you just keep, if you're a writer, you write, and your skills are just going to develop over time because you are practicing it, but you're also interested in it. So you'll naturally be trying to challenge yourself and develop your craft over time. So I think that's one of the best things about writing, is that you will only get better with time. But one comment I wanted to make is, you know, just in that example, I remember, I think it was Denny Shapiro saying it would be an amazing experiment to have a writer rewrite the same book every 10 years and to see how different it changed and how different it was. Because the thing is, you would probably be highlighting different themes. Of course, yes, the quality of the writing would improve, but it would be interesting to see how the story shift and maybe what would become the focus. I think that would be, very interesting.
Oh, and you know what? I actually did something similar to that. My very first book, The Wolflock Cases, The Case of the Captain. So the first 9 books I've rewritten. This is the second rewrite of them because I was very new to all of this, wrote them, went through a word edit, put them on Amazon. And that was the process. And they were only about 10 to 15,000 words. So they were really short as well. Now the minimum is 20,000 for the very first one, and then they just go up to 40,000 from there, and they consistently stay between 30 and 40,000. But the very first book I read over, and the quality of the writing is exponential. Like within a 5-year span, the quality of the writing is just extreme. And then after that, I realized this. You don't realize what an actual story is. You don't realize what parts of a story make it enthralling and why someone would want to continue reading. What I wrote in the past was really a slice of life thing. There was no stakes, there was no true goal, there was no true motivation. It was just they're going on a little adventure because. And then when I came back to it, I made sure that there were stakes. I made sure that there was actual need to accomplish the thing, who for someone who would not have willingly participated in this at all.
Yeah. And I think that's it is so amazing to see how your skills develop over time and what challenges you set for yourself as a writer. So in my latest manuscript, as I've been writing, I've been asking myself, how can I make this more complex? How can I, and by complex, I mean, how can I add more layers within this scene? There is not one thing going on. There's always at least 3 things happening in the scene. So adding that complexity to it. And I think that is one of the, it probably sounds awful to someone who isn't a writer, but if you're a writer, one of the funnest things is putting those challenges into place and seeing if you can pull it off. Like, and that's just been, that's just been like such a motivation in writing this latest book. And sorry, there was another point I wanted to make in that, but I think, no, I've lost it. But just developing yourself as a writer, it's just the biggest motivator, I think. Yeah. And learning how to tell those stories. I know when I was first writing Every Time He Dies, the first draft was wildly different to the draft that it is now. So that's the thing too, your story will change. But I remember when I first started writing it, I was like, how am I going to write 80,000 words? Like, how am I going to do that? And now 80,000 words is nothing. Your perception of what is difficult also changes over time because you develop these muscles and you develop, as you said, an understanding of what needs to be in the story in order to create that narrative drive that pulls the reader from start to finish. How do you create a page-turning novel? And one of my favorite quotes is from Ken Follett, and he says, the story should turn every 4 pages, which is very prescriptive advice, but it's something to keep in mind. Like, how is the story turning? How is it developing? What's evolving? And thinking about the story in a strategic way, not just in a sitting down and stream of conscious writing the first thing that comes to you, being a little bit more intentional about it.
I like that. It's always good to have a plan.
And you can deviate from the plan. Yep. Sorry, go on.
I'm a planner, but like I will find, especially when I wrote book 9 yonks ago, there was a particular scene where something, I don't know what happened, but one of the side characters just suddenly became actually important, and the stream of consciousness made it so. But before that point, she was just a maid. She was just someone who was, acting as a caretaker for someone else. She was a placeholder for someone else who was a bit grumpy.
Got you.
So yeah,
but I think that's the thing.
No, you go.
Oh, no. All I was going to say is planning doesn't mean that you have to stick to the plan, and it's definitely not supposed to be stifling your creativity, because this is the thing, you will have creative awarenesses and insights and aha through writing. You will create ideas through writing in addition to the planning stage and in addition to when you're out just living your life, because everything is connected. But the thing is, the plan is a safeguard. It's something that will stop you from procrastinating because you know what's going to happen next. I think one of the biggest writing blocks comes from the fact that you don't know what to do next, whereas the plan sort of stops that from happening so much. But it is just a safeguard so that you feel supported and that you know what's going to come next, but you don't have to stick to it. If a better idea comes up while you're writing, then go with the better idea and change the outline. So it's not to perceive it as this rigid document that you must follow. It's more flexible than that. You're the writer, you're the creator. There are no rules. You can do this however you want. But it's just looking at tools that are supportive for you and making sure that they are actually helping you and not hindering you.
Yes. Yeah. And everyone has a different style. Like everyone's journey from being a writer to an author And from going from author to sustainable author is very different. And I had it in my head ages ago. I'm very much a structured person when it comes to these sorts of things. It's like, okay, so we've got this timeline, we've got this schedule, it should be golden. Let's go for it. But everyone is so different. Some people will get success from writing articles for magazines and getting exposure that way. Other people will do podcasts and interviews. Other people will do blog tours. Some people will really work Instagram or Pinterest to the max, and everyone will love their stuff. Shayla Morganson is an example of this. Her Instagram is absolutely stunning, whereas your YouTube is incredible. Some people will really work well when it comes to traditional publishing. Other people publish really fast and they just get it out like once a month, like Lindsay Barocca. And then other people take 5 years to get a book out, but the anticipation is nail biting and everyone needs it, like Jim Butcher and George Martin.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that's the thing too. Yeah. And there's no one model for writing. There are so many models, and whatever model you want to do, there is someone out there doing it, and you can find it, dismantle it, and figure out how you can do it too. And I think the thing is needing to know yourself, like, what are your tendencies? What kind of workflow do you want? Are you the type of writer who wants to publish once a month because you get a high off that intensity and pressure and you're just a storytelling machine? Or do you like to take it slow and go really deep into a single work and you love getting in the mess of creating something and being dedicated to one story for a long period of time? I only recently have realized that I fall into that latter camp. So it's that thing of like developing, like getting to know yourself as a creative. And like you even said then, figuring out what platform works for you. And the reason why Shayla's Instagram works for her is because she loves using that space. And the reason why other people have had success publishing in magazines is because they innately have a voice for that space. So it's experimenting with all these different platforms and seeing what you're good at and where people are going to accept you. So I think that's something that can only come through doing and not so much thinking.
Yes. Yeah. You've got to test it. You've got to try it out. You've got to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks.
Yes, 100%. But also giving it time to stick. So that's the thing too. If you start filming YouTube videos and after 3 months, you're still only getting 4 views, that's not enough time. You have to stick to it for a little bit longer. And I don't know how long is long enough, but you need to sort of trust your own gut and your senses of, have I dedicated enough time for this? Is it getting any traction? Am I enjoying it? This is very important. If you don't enjoy it, you won't do a good job. So it's all of these things, you know, there's no sort of black and white rules around this stuff. Just need to be a little bit clever about it and give it enough time.
Definitely. Something that I've noticed and something that I'm trying to figure out a way to cut down that time for is through all of my research on indie authors and for it's mostly self-published authors that I look at because that's my model. But it takes about 6 years of full-time effort and work in your sphere, not just writing, but producing your contact, getting into your community, making yourself known. It takes 6 years to build from zero and unknown or like very, very like littly known to being sustainable. And I say sustainable, I mean for you to be earning between $35,000 to $50,000 a year. And that after that point, that still requires that same level of maintenance. So 6 years seems to be the ballpark for people to do their bits of study that they need to do. So uni is a great place to get the space and get the community going that spurs you on. But yeah, when I look at people like Jenna Morassi, when I look at Tamara, is not such a good example because she's been doing this for a million years. But Jenna Morassi was my primary case study. And then I started to branch into all of the other authors that are on Patreon and that are on YouTube. And you can see their stats. You can see their graph. And you can see the point at which they hit what I would consider sustainable. And it's always at that 6 year mark.
That's
Like
fantastic. That's such a great case study.
They become well known with that concerted effort at 6 years. So that's 6 years of weekly content on YouTube. That's 6 years of twice a day content, one live a day content on Instagram and Facebook. That's daily 4-hour Twitch streams, sometimes 6-hour Twitch streams. And it's still them doing all of that and producing a book.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing too, is to be sustainable as an indie author in particular, you aren't just doing one thing. You aren't just writing books. There is the business and the administration side of things, which is obviously a bit dry, but you need to do in order to maintain everything. And then there's all of this interactive content creation that you need to do in order to build that audience so you have someone to sell your book to. And this is the thing about being an author, is you're not just wearing one hat, you're wearing multiple hats. And it's learning how to manage that time, because we do need to. Absolutely. Yeah. And you need to write your books, and find a balance of creating that content and being in these spaces without that becoming everything, because this is a bit of a balancing trick too. It's very addictive. Writing blogs, making videos, being on social media, talking with fans, talking with followers, all that sort of stuff is very addictive because it's immediate and it's quick. And writing a book is often not those things unless you're following the rapid release model. But even then, you're not having a daily turnaround or a 2-day turnaround. It's still going to be a week's turnaround, even if you're following the rapid release model. So I think this is the trick too with indie publishing, is how do you deviate your time and protect your writing time and make sure that you're actually getting the writing done so that you're creating the product that you're hoping to sell. Yeah.
So one of the things that we've recently picked up in Logan is writing Fridays. So that's what I'm going to leave you soon for, because on Fridays knocking over water bottles. Fridays between 10 and 2, there is a little free get-together. At the moment, it's online because of lockdown, but normally we would meet at one of the libraries, use their Wi-Fi or whatever we need to, and we use the Pomodoro technique to get 4 hours of writing done. So it is exactly what people need if they require someone else to dictate, all right, this space is carved out purely for writing.
And that's such a perfect example of, like, if anybody knows Gretchen Rubin and her work, she talks about the different strategies. Actually, do you know what tendency you're at? Just as a bit of a segue.
Oh, I feel like I did it recently. Hang on a second.
Yeah, because I'm an upholder. So I'm pretty good at meeting my own expectations, inner and outer, and other people's expectations. But most people are obligers, which means they're really good at meeting other people's expectations, but not so much themselves. So that's 70% of the population. And one of the best way for them to achieve their goals is to create a sense of accountability. So joining a group where you're doing the Pomodoro technique is the perfect example of how to create accountability, outer accountability, so that you actually show up and do your writing. And this is just circles back to what I said before about knowing yourself and knowing what do you need in order to what are your needs as a creator? How do you work? And then how can you use strategies to support your weak points and heighten your strengths? Sorry, just a truck going past.
That's fine. What were the other two? You've got obliger, upholder.
Questioner, rebel.
Questioner, rebel.
Obliger, and upholder.
I'm an obliger.
Obliger, yep. There you go. Yep. So yeah, creating that outer sense of accountability is so good for you. So,
and deadlines work really well for obligers as well, especially if there's someone else at the end of the deadline.
There's that accountability again. They're depending on you to meet this deadline.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's such a teamwork.
Yeah. That's such a beautiful practice that in the local community, you have a group where you can meet and you can do that. We actually do a similar thing for our students at university where we, again, virtually, but just for 1 hour a week, we'll meet up where students can either work on their fiction or their assignments. And we're not providing additional support in those spaces directly. It's literally just carving out that time, dedicated riding time. So there's definitely something to be said for it. And the reason why the Pomodoro technique works is because it creates this like real, very mild pressure of like, you've got 25 minutes to ride. It's a concentrated amount of time. So it's a lot easier to just go, oh no, I'm not going to check my phone. I'm not going to check social. It's only 25 minutes. It's only 25 minutes. So I'm just going to focus. So it's amazing how something so simple can actually be so powerful. There's a reason why so many people use it.
Absolute treat. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Now, I would like you to let us know what you will be talking about at the Writers' Festival.
Great. So I'm going to be talking about the follow-through formula, how to create a long-term writing project. So in my talk, I'm going to be talking about strategies to do with mindset shifts. So ways that you can change the way you perceive writing or getting things done so that you can actually follow through and complete your novel, builds a bit of self-confidence in yourself, as well as practical strategies for how you can actually manage your time and your energy levels so that you can sustain it over a long period of time, which is what most people are going to need to write a novel, particularly if you have a full-time job and this is something you're doing in your spare time. So it's developing mindset strategies as well as practical strategies to help you actually get to the end of your first draft.
That's fantastic. I love that. I think everyone needs that.
Yeah.
So thank you so much today for coming and having a chat with me. The technical difficulties got smoothed out really quickly. I'm quite pleased with that. I think this is a nice, effective way of still getting the interviews done without having to rely on Zoom or Google Meet, which has buggered up a couple of times on me. So thank you so much for coming and giving me part of your morning for this. This has been fantastic. And I know that we could chat for hours on all the things because you're just a wealth of information. And it's so nice to talk to someone who's in the academic sphere of this, as well as the practical sphere. You are the hybrid.
I am the hybrid. Thank you so much for inviting me today. It was lovely getting to talk to you. Especially having a long form conversation about this. That was really enjoyable. Thank you so much.
No, you are so welcome. This was absolutely delightful. So you will be able to see Tara, for everyone coming to the Writers' Festival. Make sure you buy your tickets. You'll be able to see her there, giving her talk on how to manage your energy and the follow-through technique. So thank you again, and we will catch up very soon. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Do all of that stuff.
Do all the important things.
All the important things. Mostly share this. Sharing this, I think, is probably the most important thing. That gets the most points on the algorithm, right?
Yes, definitely. Yep.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we will catch up again in the near future. And I will see you in September.
Great. Happy writing.
See you later, Tara.